The wolf from Puss in Boots is not a villain. He's not here to be defeated. Yet everything in the movie pushes us to believe the opposite. His presence, his silence, his whistle. But when we truly watch how he behaves, we start to understand something unsettling. The wolf isn't here to fight Puss in Boots. He's here to confront him with something he's been running from. And that realization changes everything. When the wolf first appears in Puss in Boots, our brain instantly reacts. This character is different. Everything about his entrance breaks the tone of the movie. Until that moment, the world is colorful, light, almost cartoonish. Danger is exaggerated. Violence is treated like a joke. Then suddenly, everything slows down. The music fades, the colors darken, silence takes over. The wolf appears. And instinctively, we think we understand. This is the villain. Cinema has trained us to recognize antagonists. A dark aura, a deep voice, an intimidating presence. Tai Lung in Kung Fu Panda. They all want something. Power, recognition, victory. The hero exists to stop them. So when the wolf appears with all those visual codes, our brain connects the dots automatically. At this point, the audience doesn't fully understand him yet, but they feel something. In most movies, a villain behaves in a very specific way. He wants something. He chases the hero. He tries to win. He's always moving forward. The wolf is not. He waits. And that difference changes everything. When you watch his scenes closely, something feels off. He never rushes. He could attack Puss several times. He has the strength. He has the opportunity. But he doesn't. Why? Because that's not his role. The wolf is not here to cause Puss's death. He's here to remind him that death exists. In many stories, death is portrayed as a hunter. It chases, it pursues, it never stops, like in Final Destination, where death is a relentless mechanism that always catches up. Or in horror films where death becomes a violent, vengeful force, but here, it's the opposite. The wolf doesn't hunt, he observes. He watches Puss panic, run in every direction, search for ways to regain his lives. And while Puss desperately moves, the wolf waits, as if he already knows that running is pointless. That calm is what makes him terrifying. Because the danger isn't an attack, it's certainty. The wolf never says, "I'm gonna kill you," he says, "I'll be there when the time comes." And that is far more disturbing. There's an old cinematic reference to this idea. In The Seventh Seal by Ingmar Bergman, death plays chess with a knight. It doesn't rush, it doesn't fight, it waits because time is already on its side. The wolf works the same way. He doesn't compete with Puss, he lets him live. And that is the real duel. When Puss sees the wolf, he doesn't feel hatred. He feels something new. Panic, not physical fear, existential fear. The fear of losing what he always took for granted. Before, death had no consequences. Now every wound matters. Every fall is permanent. For the first time, Puss is no longer fighting to win. He's fighting to keep. The wolf doesn't take his life. He takes his innocence. And that is far more violent. That's why their encounters feel so powerful. They don't feel like battles. They feel like reminders. Each time the wolf appears, the movie shows us the same thing. Puss isn't fighting death. He's fighting the idea that he can die. And at that moment, the movie stops being an adventure. It becomes a reflection about what changes when you realize everything can end. Throughout the entire movie, Puss makes the same mistake. He believes the wolf is the problem. He thinks that if he regains his lives, everything will go back to normal. He doesn't want to change. He wants to rewind. And that reaction is deeply human. When something scares us, we don't try to understand it, we try to erase it. Puss doesn't want to face death. He wants to bypass it, cancel it, make it harmless again. That's why he searches for the wishing star. Not out of courage, out of denial, the refusal to accept a limit. And this is where the movie becomes very smart. The wolf is never portrayed as the main obstacle. The real danger is Puss himself. His impulsive choices, his arrogance, his inability to be alone. He runs, he lies, he pretends. Because as long as he keeps moving, he doesn't have to think. Watch his behavior carefully. When the wolf appears, Puss doesn't become braver, he becomes anxious, he shakes, he doubts, he panics, he completely loses his identity. The confident, charismatic hero turns into pure survival, and the wolf doesn't take that from him. The awareness of his own ending does. That's why the wolf often disappears from the story. Because the real battle isn't external, it's internal. The film isn't about how to defeat death. It's about how to live knowing you will die. And that's when another character becomes essential. Perito. Hindsight, at first glance, he seems out of place, too naive, too kind, almost ridiculous, yet he represents exactly what Puss has lost. The ability to live without calculation. Perito has one life. No guarantees. And yet, he moves forward, he loves, he trusts, he gets hurt, but he lives. Puss, on the other hand, lived 8 lives without ever truly living. Because living isn't avoiding death, it's accepting that it exists. That's why the wolf isn't present during Puss's transformation. He doesn't guide, he doesn't teach, he doesn't explain, he waits, because that change cannot come from him, it must come from Puss. Slowly, Puss begins to understand, not with words, but with feelings. Loss, loneliness, fear, attachment. For the first time, he cares about someone. And that's exactly when the wolf returns. Not as a threat, but as a test. The wolf doesn't want to see if Puss can fight. He wants to see if he understood. The wolf does not represent death itself, not in the traditional sense. He doesn't represent dying, he represents something far more intimate. The moment death becomes real. Before him, Puss knew he could die, but he didn't feel it. And that difference changes everything. You can know something without truly integrating it, like knowing that one day everything will end, while living as if it never will. That's exactly where Puss was. Death existed, just never for him. The wolf is not a punishment. He's not there to judge, he's there to awaken. He embodies awareness, that precise moment when reality can no longer be postponed. That's why he always appears the same way. Calm, slow, controlled, because truth doesn't scream, it settles in. In many stories, death is an ending. Here, it's a beginning. It doesn't close the narrative, it opens it. Puss believed his multiple lives made him a hero. In reality, they prevented him from being human. Because without limits, there is no urgency. Without urgency, there are no real choices. And without choices, there is no meaning. The wolf is not cruel, he is necessary. He takes nothing from Puss, he gives something back. The ability to take his life seriously, that's why he is never unfair. He doesn't strike without reason. He only attacks when Puss is still running. And when Puss finally accepts his condition, the wolf changes. This detail matters. At the end of the film, the wolf no longer tries to kill him. He recognizes him, he understands, he respects him. Because at that moment, Puss is no longer running from death, he's living in spite of it.
Hasta la muerte.